Hello there, I'm Kios Ronan Beatmaker, and on this episode of the Monday Mindset, we're going to discuss to love, you must free yourself of labels. Man has a pretty static picture of the world, accidentally or forcibly imprinted upon him by means of chains of conditioned associations. Man believes his imprint board is reality. Timothy Leary. Words cause a permanent imprint, a freezing of reality, through which all future learning and perception would then be filtered. This filtering is a great hindrance to love. If your learning has caused an avoidance reaction to Black men or Jews or the Mexican or those with different manners from yours, a different dress, then your possibilities of loving these human beings will be minimized. Dr. Leo. He developed language to free himself, never imagining that he would become a slave to language. Dr. Leo. How often do we become slaves to the words that are never spoken and the words that never should? We have allowed language to determine our happiness and our way of life. So we will allow others to use language to control our identity, perception, our being, our way of life. They deny us the beauty, mystery, and ideas that are birthed through language that can allow us to transcend, evolve, and actualize the truth of our being and the world we inhabit. But many of us allow others to dictate our word. We must deny them their substance by staying true to ourselves and embracing our personhood through the language that inspires, motivates, and disciplines us towards the path in the art of living. The label tricked man into becoming a slave and distanced him from other human beings. Dr. Leo. The moment we begin putting labels upon ourselves, we lose sight of what it means to be human and what it means to be a community. We have divided ourselves into subhumans based on our cultures, creeds, and religions. How cruel have we become to ourselves for such resentment, isolation, and violence towards the labels that we put upon ourselves and others. How we allow such labels to dictate who we believe, who we support, who we admire, who we love. These labels have tricked us into hating one another, resenting one another, denying one another love, denying one the ability to just be human, to just be. Labels prevent us from fully actualizing our true self. When you give in to labels, you give in to self-pity. You give in to self-inflicting wounds that are redirected toward the world and those who do not stand with your labels, those who are not slaves to the labels of language. When you become a slave to the label that society, family, culture has inflicted upon you, you're denying yourself freedom of expression, freedom of individuality, freedom of being. For a free man knows no chains. Labels do not hold a free man back. They only drive him further towards actualization. Fuel to the belly, momentum to our movements. We are as water, ever flowing, ever adapting. Labels never hold a free man back. No matter how large or small the crevice may be, freedom is always one drop away. The connotation towards Dagos caused our neighbors to believe they knew us and to be comfortable in rejecting us. Dr. Leo, how often have we allowed discriminatory words to validate our rejection of one another? I mean, I think the climate that we're in right now is a perfect example of that. Look at this country, the United States. Spoiler alert, that's where I live. And think about how polarizing we have allowed labels to become in this country. To the point now where labels have labels. Labels are discriminating against labels within the labels. I'm sure you can catch on to what I mean. But, you know, this is not to pretend as if this country's past history of discriminatory words did not lead to some pretty horrific actions, and even actions that are still going on to this day. People like to joke around, or not really joke around, but people don't like to acknowledge that there is still an ongoing genocide going on in this very country. I know this might, be controversial to some people, but you go and take a drive down on some of those reservations, and you don't tell me that's not an ongoing genocide. But this is not a political or socio-political podcast. But we have to acknowledge and I like to use life as an example because that is the essential reality. But I am bringing that up because, you know, look at where we are going now in terms of validating discriminatory words. It is to the point now where we there are communities, I should say, that are that once stood for anti-discrimination and racism are now promoting and advocating, validating discrimination and racism. And I look at these communities that are displaying such behaviors of hate and malice. You know, they uh, to quote the great Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have become the very thing we stood to destroy. And it's unfortunate to see these communities um, harass and bully, individuals, other communities for not um, bending the knee to their labels and their ideological demands and perception. And it's causing such a great divide and just animosity between one another that it hurts to see, to be honest. It hurts to see. It's at times it's disgusting, at times it's frustrating, at other times it's hilarious. We have to laugh at ourselves, and we have to laugh at how humans can really be foolish and nonsense in their nonsense, I should say. um, and it's just sad to see how the more these communities and create labels, the more they create you know words you know that are slaves to ideology. Um, they are dividing and they are warping, the perception of what it means to be human. And I know people are going to take that in the wrong context, and I will clarify myself. But what I mean is that, you know we are all humans. We are all beings. We're all individuals. And the moment we start, you know, for example, this is a perfect example for what I'm talking about. There was a venue in the UK that had pricings for tickets, and the pricings of the tickets were based on your um, gender identity and um, how progressive you were in supporting the community, certain levels of the community. Um, and I know that sounds crazy, but I'll pull it up because I think this adds to what I'm saying. Um, and I think it will be important for me to make sure that, like, I can pull it up so we can talk about it, because I think it perfect. Here it is. Okay. So I'm not going to name the place because I don't think that's fair. So here's what they had for prices. So for straight cisgender men, that's general admission, it was um, 112 pounds, I believe. Someone on here can do the conversions. I'm not doing that. And then, but I mean, 112 pounds, that sounds pretty hefty. Um, and then for allies, white, trans, queer, straight, bi, people of color, women, it was 2464 pounds. For bi, people of color, only queer, cisgender men, it was 1680. For bi, people of color, only queer, women, trans, and non binary, by people of color, it was 1680. So I'm bringing that up because, um, and spoiler alert, if you know what the community I'm talking about now, that I was trying not to, get all talking about. But anyways, trying not to put labels. Ironically, right? But I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to show, like, look at that. That's one, that's discrimination. Two, that's segregation. Three, that's like class segregation. I mean, we could put those together, but at the same time, it's actually class segregation as well, because you gotta look. If you compare the prices for the straight cisgender men and the allies, white, trans, queer, straight, by people of color women, it's I think you can tell, from 112 to 2464 to 1680. I mean, it's you know it's no different than if we were to go back to the early 1900s and 1940s and 50s, where it was white only and black only, and the white people got a cheaper ticket for the movies, but the black people had to pay more. Whatever. It's no different. It's segregation with extra steps. And the reason why I bring this up is because this is not how we this is not how we treat human beings. This is not how we should be supporting and protecting one another. This is blatant, just discrimination and hate, like, and it's purposeful. That's the sad part about it. Yeah, it's a nightclub in the UK, and these were tickets, and it was various prices depending on your gender and race. And I mean, how is that promoting love and equality? How is that? And that's all I'm trying to make a point about is love and how is that love and equality? How is that moving us forward as human beings? That's not a community of individuals. Now I don't understand why we are subjecting ourselves to this, and not only subjecting ourselves, and I mean by as adults, like why are we willingly subjecting ourselves to this, and then subjecting children to this type of world, and it's not a world of love and peace and equality and progression and understanding. It's more division, more hate. And I feel for I feel for for these communities and these people who are doing this stuff, and it's not all of them. We can't generalize here, and I mean for the people who are willingly participating for this type of world and these types of ideas. Like, I feel for them because it's not, they believe that they're doing the right thing. They believe that they are, moving forward their community, their beliefs, but they're really hurting people. They're really dividing people. And the people that they would need to support them, they're not going to support them because nobody, and I mean nobody, and I'm a big person about this. Nobody likes bullies. And this feels like being bullied. This type of mentality, this type of belief system, this type of behavior is, sorry about that, people, is is not right. It's not right at all. And I don't understand how we're able to move forward as a community if we keep on allowing this type of behavior and belief. And if we do, it's just we're not going to be a society of human beings anymore. We're going to be a society of of classes, a society of segregation. And 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 how is that going to benefit anybody? How is that going to benefit anybody in the long term when we are consumed in discrimination and class system? And what makes anybody think that this stuff is gonna just stop where it is? I mean, we have seen them creating new labels, new identities, new genders. I mean, how, when does it end? So we have to ask ourselves that, when does this type of behavior end? Because so far, it doesn't seem like it's going to be ending anytime soon. And we keep on thinking that it will stop, but it's not stopping. And it's hurting freedom of thought. It's hurting freedom of expression because they will attack you, harass you, bully you if your freedom of expression and thought does not coincide with their labels on what is okay in terms of freedom of thought and expression. And how is that considered love to one another? How is that no different than hating someone based on their race? I mean, they're literally actually hating on race. I mean, it costs more money for a straight cisgender man than it does for a bi person of color who's only a queer woman, trans, and non-binary. I mean, how is that? How is that love? How is that promote? How is that? evolving what it means to be, supporting communities. Because you think about it, like, you know, that type of behavior mentality is only going to further wedge people away. There's never going to be unity. There's never going to be coming together. There's never going to be acceptance if you're going to be discriminating on people literally based on their gender and their identity, and having them pay for more, having them have to do more. It doesn't. It's sad, and it's backwards. It's really backwards, and I don't know how we're gonna move forward. I don't know how we're going to be able to um overcome this this vocal expression of hate and bigotry and discrimination. And there might be listeners out there who are part of this community, and you may blatantly disagree with me, and you may think that I am speaking out of turn, or wrong, or being offensive in any way, and I am not. I'm talking about us, about being humans. This is not how we care and support and love one another. This is not how we get to know one another. This is not how communities grow. This is not how we support our neighbors. If we're going to be discriminating against our neighbors and putting labels on them before we even get to know them, and even if they don't necessarily agree and believe with everything we say, all that matters in the end, are they good people? Are they good people? Do they take care of their of their pets right? Do they take care of their children right? Are they kind? That's all that matters. Are they, doing good for their community in any small matter? Are they family oriented? Are they goal oriented? Those kind of things matter. Those are what matters about peoples and our neighbors. But if we are not going to focus on that, what's the point? What is the point of having communities? What's the point of having friends if we're gonna base our communities and our friendships and our relationships based on their gender and their identity and their race? I mean, what does that mean? How do we move forward? I really I'm genuinely perplexed, because I just don't understand. I don't get it. And for me, I all I can think about as I get older is I just think about how are kids supposed to navigate this world. Really, how truly are kids supposed to navigate this if all they're experiencing is discrimination, labels, if that's all they're experiencing? And and what if what they identify with and what they label with is still not good enough? What then? What then? What do we do then? When is it good enough? And that's what I'm stressing here. That's really what I'm trying to stress, is when is it good enough? Because it's just going to keep on getting wilder. It's just going to keep on getting more complicated, more discrimination, more hate base, and we're not going to be able to love each other anymore. We're not going to be able to love. It's going to get to the point where you will not be able to literally love, support, admire, inspire someone unless their label coincides with yours. And how horrible is that? That is that's just horrible. It's horrible to see this, and to see it being inflicted upon children. And that's the worst part about this. And then, you know, it's like, why are we so comfortable with justifying discrimination based on labels and hyperbole? Welcome to Ronin Art and Music. I wish to introduce everyone to my new Teespring page, where you can purchase designs featuring Ronin Art and Music, the Monday Mindset, or Ronin Thoughts. head over to Teespring and search Ronin Art and Music, or head over to my Etsy page at Ronin Art and Music, where you can purchase photography postcards, motivational postcards, and hard copies of my debut album, True Colors. If you enjoy the merchandise, products, or content created by Ronin Art and Music, please take time to subscribe to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. This is the best way to show continued support and join Clan Ronin, where you will have a hands-on impact on all things Ronin Art and Music. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Why are they so comfortable with just with with hating people, with being mean and bullying and harassing people because they do not placate to their ideologies and beliefs, and the fact that what some of the stuff that they are demanding is unreasonable and unethical and immoral. I mean, we have to think about that. And this goes on both sides, whether you're on one far spectrum or on the other far spectrum. It goes for both sides. But we have to acknowledge that one side has the majority in terms of their vocalization, and how this hate is dividing people and it's fueling other aspects of hate. It fuels the people who were already wary of those groups, and now be, they are justified in their wariness, and at times maybe their own discrimination. So then how are we progressing if we're just making each side hate each other that much more, and censoring those who do not believe in the words that you're speaking? These, and let's be honest, these are hateful frequencies that are being spoken and that are being administered in policies, in education, and in health. We have to acknowledge that. And we have to acknowledge that this is not love of man, love of freedom, love of individuals, love of communities. This is divide and conquer and hate and segregate and discriminate against freedom of individuality, freedom of thought, and communities. You know, how many of these people who who genuinely support this stuff believe in a higher power and think that they are justified in their beliefs, but they're not. It's no different than the Inquisitions. It's no different than the conquistadors in South America. No different than the Crusades. No different than um, the settlers. You take it and name it, and whether or not you believe in that history or you're not, it's all the same. Hate hate is just, it's all the same. No matter what it is, hate is the same. And these words, this hateful rhetoric and action, and being comfortable in it, and then you have people who are complacent in it, enable it, celebrate it. You know that's just as bad. And it's scary to see that. It's scary to see people are comfortable in their discrimination, in their hate, in their bullyingness, and then use that comfortability as justification to create policies that discriminate, that openly discriminate, that create you know prices that openly discriminate. How are we supposed to move forward as humans, not as a nation, not as a race, but as humans? How are we supposed to move forward? How are we supposed to expand if that's what we're willing to allow? And people are trying to stand up to it. People are speaking out, but they end up getting canceled, or they end up getting ostracized, or whatnot, because people are afraid. People are afraid to have freedom of thought. How crazy is that? And these are the same people that promote and they claim to promote love and freedom of expression. When they will cancel someone if their freedom of expression does not align with theirs. How wild is that? How wild is it that they in some aspects, in some of their policies and actions, want to undo the civil rights movement? How crazy is that? And that's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about how this level of comfortability in hate that is just being promoted, it is scary to see. It really is scary to see. And I call it hate. You may say otherwise, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I really believe that that kind of behavior, that is hate against people, hate against individuals, hate against other humans. It's hate. And I don't like bullies. I don't like people that advocate and promote hate. I don't stand for it. I don't I don't adhere to that. And I might catch flack for what I'm saying. And that's okay. You know, might not be now. Maybe 20 years from now. But hopefully not. Hopefully 20 years from now we've outgrown this stage of this country's adolescence. We seem to forget that this country is, pardon my English, pretty fucking young. We haven't been around for that long. Sorry, that's Pablo. It's thirsty. But we haven't been around for that long. And I'm hoping that we will, you know, get out of this pubescent stage. I feel like this is a country's like angst year, angst time, where it just hates everybody and anything. We were all like that. We were all goths, even if we were wore preppy outfits. The goths just did it a little bit better. But this hyperbole as well, where one person will say, "Oh, that person is a racist or this or that," and then everyone else just, "Oh, okay," just follows along. And it's so sad to see that. And I don't, it's uncomfortable. It really is uncomfortable. And it's I wonder how we will be able to progress forward, because this hate, it's even, it's ruining relationships. It's ruining what it means to be in a healthy relationship. And I don't- whether it's with friends, whether it's with a lover, whatever. And I don't know how we evolve as a species, as a human species, if we are devolving, mentally, and devolving into these cult, tribalistic, communities of hate and segregation. I don't know how we move forward. I don't know how we're supposed to evolve if we're going the other way. It's we're moving forward with our technology, but backwards with our mentality. And that's not a dig or disrespect to these communities. It's more of a dig at you know at how far we've moved forward and progressed, as supporting and believing and allowing other people to express themselves without it being forced upon one another. But now we're at the point where we're forcing it upon one another and canceling and threatening and subjugating people to torment if they don't agree with it. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for anybody. Like I said, I'm scared for the children. I see children being, raised in this world and being subjected to that hate, and it's like that's forever. That experience is forever. Those feelings can. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. I was saying that I don't want those feelings to last forever in children. I don't want children to be exposed to that, because then that becomes a generational thing, and then it implodes upon itself. And that's what I was saying about when does this stuff stop? When does the when does it stop? Um, because these communities, they eventually will turn upon themselves. They will eat each other. You already see that happening, and it doesn't matter whether it's on the far left or the far right. They eventually they eat themselves, because they've eaten everyone else. There's nothing left. There's only each other. Um, and so what do you do then? And I don't want us to fall into that, because we have so much to give as a country. We have, as a people, as individuals. We have so much that we can share and uncover. But if we continue to fall down this path of hate for one another, we're never going to succeed. And I don't want that for this country. I don't want that for people. I don't want people to then become subjects and slaves to hate. It's not good. We've seen it play out in history before. We've seen it play out in so many different aspects of our history, in so many different continents. And I just don't want that here. I don't want words to cause to continue to cause more division and hate upon one another and ourselves. You have people who are hating themselves because of the race that they are. You know, willingly to subject themselves to that. That is not okay at all. That is not okay. And I do not agree with any of that stuff. And it's to the point now where we have allowed labels to determine our happiness and place in the world. What does that mean? What does that mean, that depending on your gender identity and your belief identity will determine your how much your ticket cost, or how if how much of a raise you get, or what have you, or if you get the job or not. I mean, that's horrible that we're doing that. Even our own, I don't like getting political, but even our own administration is doing that with this whole Supreme Court choice. It's so backwards and ironic, but at the same time not. If you look at their record, um, so I just I don't know how we are supposed to be happy, and if we have to constantly look over our shoulder to make sure that what we're happy about isn't gonna hurt somebody, or God forbid, trigger them. I mean, what is this? What is this? This is horrible. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry. It really is, how much hate and malice and bullying is being fueled by such rhetoric. It really is. And you can say that maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I'm not. Go out there and do your own research. If you want to see how crazy it is, go on to onto TikTok or Instagram or Twitter and follow the account Libs of TikTok and see where I'm coming from and see where this hate is coming from. And you tell me that I'm wrong. And it can be on any side. I'm only using that side as an example because they have such a vocal place in social media, in 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 social media, in politics. I have to use them as an example. It's the best example I have. And I don't want us to continue to fall down this path. I don't want I don't want labels to determine our happiness anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people putting labels on one another and using that as a determination on someone's identity as a person and their place in society and life. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. It should be based on the merits of your action and your words. Are you an honorable person? Are you a humble person? Are you a kind person? Are you a person that's accountable for themselves, for their actions, for their mistakes? Those are the qualities that matter in an individual and largely in a community, not their gender or their pronouns, or whether or not they're a Democrat or a liberal or a conservative, or Tea Party, whatever you have it, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I don't, whatever. What should matter is who they are as an individual, who they are as a human. Do they stand for what it means to be a human, to be just, to be alive? Those are the qualities and the things that matter most. And that's how we grow in love, by promoting and believing in those qualities and searching those qualities in people. That's what matters most. And we have to advocate for those words, for that belief. We have to stand for it, and that is a hill to die on, ladies and gentlemen. That is a hill to die on. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the right thing. It's the just thing. And we have to acknowledge and believe in that. And I don't want people to think that what I believe in and what I'm advocating is something that isn't just or right. It is. It is something that means being human and being selfless and not promoting hate and bigotry and discrimination. you know those aren't ways to live life. Those aren't positive frequencies. Those are the negative aspects of our language that we need to overcome. We need to outgrow. We need to stand against. Because if we don't do that, then who will? you know there's we are capable of standing up for what's just and right, and speaking it in a clear and coherent manner. And that's what matters. And being respectful and not yelling and not raising our voices. But we're human, and if that happens, we acknowledge our mistake and we try to continue moving forward in the conversation. But they're not even willing to have the conversation because they think they're already correct, but they're not. And we need to remember that, ladies and gentlemen. We need to remember that that's how we can overcome these bullies and hate and discrimination. We have to stand up for it in a respectful manner, in an honorable manner. in a manner that shows that we are not going to allow this rhetoric to continue to determine our happiness, our place in the world, our place in our communities, in our country, our state. That's not going to how we're going to determine our life and our emotional and mental well-being and physical well-being. You know, we're not going to allow that. And this is me being serious about it and being honest. Sorry about the noise. A little rough today. But I'm being for real here, people. We need to stand up and hold these people accountable for this behavior because it's not right, and it's hurting us. It's hurting what it means to be human. It's hurting what it means to be alive, to be an individual, to have freedoms of thought and expression. And you could probably play a drinking game this season with how many times I've said freedom of thought and expression, but it is important, and I'm going to keep drilling that into everyone's head so they can remember and realize how important that is for being, for love. How are we supposed to love one another if we do not believe in freedom of thought and expression? Because that's how you learn to grow, that's how you grow in love. And it's so important. And I need people to, I don't need, I want people to really think about that. And what does that mean for you? Because everyone loves differently. Don't think that I'm telling you how to love, because we all love differently. Just make sure that the way you're loving is respectful and it's kind and it's full of warmth and genuine and humility. That's what I mean. These people, they have corrupted what it means to love one another and love thy neighbor. They've corrupted it, and it's hate one another, hate thy neighbor, discriminate against one another, divide against one another, label one another. And that is not what love is about. That is not what love stands for. And we need to acknowledge that. Everyone needs to take time and think about, how do they grow in love? How do they love the world? How do they love themselves? Because until you know how to love yourself, you're not going to really be able to love one another, love the world. And let's be honest, these people, these communities, these groups, they don't love themselves. All right? Think about that. Think about the amount of discrimination and bullying and harassment they have inflicted upon people who don't agree with them. And think about that. That's so much, hate upon yourself. Because I'm a firm believer that the way you treat people is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. I'm a very firm believer in that, and I believe that the way these communities are behaving at times, whether it's on the left, the right, the far fringes, whatever, I don't care. They don't. There's an issue that they have internally with themselves, and they're taking it out on everyone else. They want everyone else to feel the hate that they have for themselves. And you could say that I'm sounding you know extravagant with my words, but I this is how I feel, and I think there's some genuine belief to it and merit to it. And it, we've all been there. How many of us ourselves personally have lashed out at people and reacted in manners when it was really about us? We've all done that. If you're gonna tell me you haven't, you are lying. All right, and I would bet money on it. And that's what I'm trying to say here, is that we cannot allow these labels that societies and cultures put on us to determine our happiness and place on this earth, and what we want to do and who we want to be. We cannot. I used to put labels on myself. We all do that. But we have to unlearn how to do that, because it's taught on us, whether it's through society or culture, whatever it is, it's ingrained in us. to put labels on things, because that's how we distinguish ourselves from one another. That's how, we distinguish who's on the top and who's on the bottom. And I'm not for that. I don't agree with that. And you're seeing a lot of that right now in this climate that we're living in. You're seeing that with this health situation that's going on, and how they're labeling people and dividing people. And it's sad and it's unfortunate, and it's costing people, and it's determining people's happiness, their financial well-being, their emotional well-being, their physical well-being. I don't know how well, I mean, I do know how, and we're seeing people stand up and are beginning to hold these actions that were put upon us, accountable. But we need to realize that the stuff that's been put on us is not based. It was never based on love for our health, for our well-being, financially, physically, mentally. And think about that. Take some time and really think about that. Take some time and think about how these labels, whether it's from cultures or social culture or the government, how these labels are costing us our individual freedoms and our rights and our expressions. You need to take time and think about that. You know, I, even if I don't necessarily agree with what someone else is saying, I want to hear them out. I'm not going to shut them off or put a label on them for what they believe in, unless it really warrants it. But if it doesn't, that's not my game. And that shouldn't be how anyone should behave and promote life. Because that's not being. That is not how you be. That is not how you live. And I just hope that we all take some time to really reflect on that and really analyze what it means to put labels on ourselves and to become slaves to words and labels, and how it devalues your being. It devalues human life. To be able to love, one must control his linguistic environment, defrost all preconceived notions brought on by old world traps. Dr. Leo. You must unlearn what you have learned linguistically via the old world labels and traps. Such negative frequencies spoken through words have done nothing but cause pain and suffering internally and externally throughout the world, individuals and communities. What have these preconceived notions brought? Genocide, religious, social, cultural extremism, war, and famine. They say the four horsemen will come as individuals. I'd say they're nothing but words transformed. There are no preconceived notions in love, for love is absolute as the one life we live. We are offered many chances to fall in love, but we are only offered one life to be in love. There are those who have created a positive linguistic environment. Their words are joyful, pleasant, reflective of the beautiful, reinforcing of the good. Others are controlled by negative words. The lines are made up of callous words, caustic, lifeless, dreary, tedious, depressing words devoid of joy, unpleasant, reinforcing of the negative. Dr. Leo. Environments of positive words are breeding grounds for ideological advancements in our society, culture, and technology. Such environments are crucial to communities of individuals' ability to actualize said advancements. This inspires others to follow suit and actualize their true potential, promoting linguistic frequencies of positive aspiration and affirmations for ourselves, the world, and communities we interact and inhabit. Such communities are looked upon as fringe, misinformed, conspiratorial, and dangerous, while negative linguistic frequencies derived from communities of bullies, trolls, haters, spoken by false, self pity individuals. They are the ones who are promoted. They are the ones with the loudest voices. Voices that harass, bully, and torment and threaten those who do not reinforce the negative linguistic labels and tricks. Frequencies that obfuscate what it means to be, what it means to be human, your individuality, your what it means to be human. Your frequencies hypnotize you. These frequencies hypnotize you into a hive mind mentality where freedom of thought and individuality are considered blasphemy and heresy. Such frequencies have overcome many aspects of our society, culture, and technologies. The communities that believe in freedom of thought and individuality must rally towards a battle cry frequency, one that can obliterate the negative linguistic parasitic energies and entities that have taken grasp of what it means to be human and what it means to be alive. To be blessed and fortunate to live upon such a world of beauty and potential, we must tear down these walls of negative self-inflicting sabotage. A lover says yes to life, yes to joy, yes to knowledge, yes to people, yes to differences. For the words you use will tell what you are, what you have seen, what you have learned, and how you have learned it. For you are your words, and they can be a long and important step on the road to discovery of love. Dr. Leo. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Monday Mindset. To learn more about myself and how you can support the Monday Mindset, head over to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. That's Ronin Art and Music. If you're interested in reaching out, follow me on social media. On Twitter, Ronin Art and Music, or at me at Kios Ronin, KioosRonin. On Instagram, follow me at RoninArt_music. And if you prefer to email, hit me up at the Monday Mindset 009 at gmail.com. That's the Monday Mindset 009 at gmail.com. And that is all lowercase. If you're listening to this on your preferred streaming service, please make sure to subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment and a review, and slap that notification bell. On Apple Podcasts, please make sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, and leave a review, as this will help me and the podcast grow. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Welcome to Ronin Art and Music. I wish to introduce everyone to my new Teespring page, where you can purchase designs featuring Ronin Art and Music, the Monday Mindset, or Ronin Thoughts. Head over to Teespring and search Ronin Art and Music, or head over to my Etsy page at Ronin Art and Music, where you can purchase photography postcards, motivational postcards, and hard copies of my debut album, True Colors. If you enjoy the merchandise, products, or content created by Ronin Art and Music, please take time to subscribe to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. This is the best way to show continued support and join Clan Ronin, where you will have a hands-on impact on all things Ronin Art and Music. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.